Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
I am Sharon Tate. I was an actress and a model, someone who truly loved the magic of cinema and the joy of creating beauty. I spent my time chasing dreams under the California sun.
We are thrilled to have you. When and where were you born?
I was born on January 24th, 1943 in Dallas, Texas.
And what was your given name at birth?
My name at birth was Sharon Marie Tate.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
There isn't a long, winding tale behind it, just a name my parents, Paul and Doris, loved. It felt right for me from the very start.
What was your hometown like growing up?
Because my father was a colonel in the United States Army, my hometown was always changing. I spent the first decade of my life in Texas, but then we moved quite a bit, from Texas to Washington State and even to Vicenza, Italy. It was a life lived out of suitcases, always discovering new places and new cultures. It taught me to be resilient, but it also meant I was always the new girl, learning to adapt quickly.
What was your family life like?
We were a very close-knit family. Being military brats meant that my two younger sisters and I leaned on each other for everything. We were each other's best friends because, with all the moving, we didn't always have time to keep long-term friendships. My parents were quite strict, which kept us grounded, even when our surroundings were constantly shifting.
What kind of kid were you?
I was very shy and bashful. It's funny to think about now, given that I eventually ended up in front of cameras, but I was quiet, observant, and gentle. I loved beauty pageants, and I actually won my first one, Miss Tiny Tot of Dallas, when I was only 6 months old. Even as a young girl, I was always busy. I loved being a cheerleader, playing basketball, and being part of the student council.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
I suppose, like any kid who moves around a lot, my biggest fear was simply loneliness or not fitting in when we'd arrive at a new school. But I learned that a smile and kindness usually helped me find my way.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
I wasn't entirely sure when I was very little, but as I got older, I felt a pull toward the arts. I loved the idea of telling stories and bringing characters to life. It started as a small spark, but it grew into something I couldn't ignore.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
I loved being involved in everything. I was a baton twirler, a cheerleader, and I was even the star of our high school production of Romeo and Juliet. That was a moment I'll never forget, the thrill of being on stage and letting a character take over.
What was your first job?
My first real taste of the industry was in Italy, where I worked as a movie extra. It wasn't anything big, but being on those sets, watching how the cameras moved and how the actors worked, was the start of everything.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I think I realized that I had a different kind of drive when I started winning those beauty pageants as a teenager. It gave me a strange, new kind of confidence. It made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I could actually make it in Hollywood.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Moving to Los Angeles after we returned to the United States. It felt like just another move, but it was the leap that led me to sign with Filmways. That one decision put me on the path to meeting the people who would help me find my voice as an actress.
What was your biggest break?
Getting the chance to work on Eye of the Devil was a major turning point. It was followed by The Fearless Vampire Killers, which was directed by Roman Polanski. Those roles really opened the doors for me and allowed people to see me not just as a model, but as a serious actress.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
The industry is very competitive, and it's easy to feel like you're just a face in the crowd. I had to learn how to train, how to model, and how to hold my own in auditions. There were plenty of small roles in things like The Beverly Hillbillies, and a lot of waiting for the right moment. Patience was my biggest struggle.
Did you ever consider quitting?
I don't think I ever wanted to quit the dream of acting itself. I loved the process too much, even when the work was hard. I always believed that if I kept working and kept learning, the right doors would open.
Was there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I was very disciplined about training. I spent a lot of time preparing for roles, studying, and modeling. I think just being open to new experiences, learning to speak Italian, practicing my craft, was what kept me growing.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I think I would have been just as happy being a teacher or working in a creative field where I could help others. I always had a deep love for children and family life.
What was your life like before fame?
It was full of transition, but it was also very simple. It was about family, school activities, and dreaming about the future. It was a life of quiet anticipation.
How did relationships change after success?
You find out very quickly who your real friends are. My relationships became more focused. I felt very lucky to have people like Jay Sebring, who was always such a champion for me, even when our romance changed.
Did fame bring happiness?
Fame is a lovely thing, but happiness is something entirely different. True happiness for me was always about love, finding a home, and the dream of starting a family.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
It's that constant glare. You live your life in a way that feels public, even when you just want to be a person at home. But it's part of the trade-off, isn't it?
What misconceptions did people have about you?
People often saw the beauty or the model first and assumed that was all there was. They didn't always see the shy, thoughtful, and sometimes clumsy person that I really was. I was much more traditional at heart than people expected.
What was your darkest moment?
I think the hardest times were simply when I felt lonely or when things didn't go as planned in my career. But I always tried to stay positive and look toward the light.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I try not to carry regrets. I believe that every experience, even the difficult ones, is there to teach us something about who we are and who we want to be.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
People misunderstood how much I longed for a simple life. Behind all the glamour, I really just wanted a husband, a home, and children. That was my true dream.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong and how did you handle it?
I remember early auditions where I was so nervous I felt like I couldn't speak. I handled it by taking a deep breath, remembering why I wanted to do this, and just doing my best. You just have to laugh at yourself sometimes.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It gave me the freedom to travel and to live comfortably, but it didn't change the things I valued most, like family and love.
What personal battles were you fighting privately?
I think everyone struggles with the feeling of whether they are enough. I dealt with shyness and a desire to be loved for who I was, not just for what I did on screen.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My family. They were my anchor through all the moves and the changes. And certainly, Jay Sebring, who was such a steady, protective friend. And Roman, who pushed me to see what I was truly capable of.
What was life like in your final years?
My final years were filled with so much hope. I was married, I was working, and I was so incredibly excited about becoming a mother. It was a time of looking forward to the future with so much joy.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was focused on my family and was very happy taking the time to prepare for the new addition to our household.
When and where and how did you pass away and how old were you?
I passed away on August 9th, 1969 in Los Angeles, California at the age of 26. I was murdered by members of the infamous Manson family.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was quite the tomboy when I was young, despite all the beauty pageants. I loved being active and outside.
What was your most unique habit?
I suppose I was a bit clumsy at times. It always made me laugh, and it kept me humble, I think.
What was your favorite food?
I always loved simple, good food, especially things that felt like home.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
There were so many wonderful places in Los Angeles, but I always preferred meals where I could sit and talk for hours with the people I cared about.
What was your favorite book?
I loved reading stories that allowed me to escape to other places. It fueled my imagination.
Did you have any known rivalries?
I didn't believe in rivalries. I believed in supporting other women and cheering for everyone's success.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
I think people often talk about the glamour, but they forget the quiet moments, the times we just spent at home, dreaming of the future. Those were the real stories of my life.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
I've had my fair share of small stumbles on set. It's always funny when you take yourself too seriously, and then something silly happens to remind you that we're all human.
Did you ever prank someone?
I preferred making people smile more than playing pranks, but we certainly shared a lot of laughs on set.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
I think anytime I bought something beautiful for our home, it felt special. I loved creating a place that felt warm and welcoming.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Stay true to who you are. Don't let anyone define you by what they see on the surface. Be kind, stay curious, and always, always keep hold of the people who love you for you.
Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
I just want to say thank you for letting me share my heart. Life is so beautiful, and it's the small, kind moments that matter the most. Thank you for having me, Calvin. This has been such a wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. It has been a pleasure to hear your story. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.